Good night and welcome to Mindful Live. I am your co-host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It's presently 10:30. Yes, very late, very late. In the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the 4th of July, American Independence Day. Over there, the American president, apparently, he is securing W's upon W's. He got his big beautiful bill, as they named it. They got that passed, so we'll see how that goes in American politics. Interesting stuff over there. But for us on 4th of July, what we learned is that up until the 6th generation of Indian descendants of Indian indentured laborers would be able to access some form of citizenry. I think Trinidad and Tobago need to not contribute to CARICOM for 5 years. Let them back for themselves. Trini says we can use US dollars. Of course, it's the world currency, but to get US dollars is the issue. Correct. I don't disagree with that necessarily, and Abdul. Because we have to see and decide if we're getting the best deal out of the CARICOM business. Let's look at some news here. Let's look at some stories in the news. Indian overseas citizenship for 6th gen Indo trainees. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced last night that 6th generation people in Trinidad and Tobago will now be eligible to apply for overseas citizenship of India, OCI, deepening the bonds between India and its Caribbean diaspora. Today I'm happy to announce that OCI cards will now be given to the 6th generation of the Indian diaspora in Trinidad and Tobago. Modi declared to loud applause at the packed Couva Velodrome, where a cultural event was held in his honor. OCI is a form of permanent residency available to people of Indian origin who have acquired citizenship in another country. It allows them to live, work, and travel freely in India, with some exceptions. Applications can be made at the Indian High Commission in Port of Spain once documentation tracing ancestry is provided. Good Vibe says, songs good, make ties stronger. I don't have a problem with this. Like, I have a personal view on dual citizenship. This isn't a law. But my personal view on dual citizenship is that someone with dual citizenship should not hold high office in a country. That's just my personal view. And I'm aware that there are multiple of those in Trinidad and Tobago, but that's my view. I think, what is citizenship? Citizenship, to some extent, is a signal of loyalty. And I don't want leaders of any place to have split loyalties. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, if I were the supreme leader, how high is high? If I were the supreme leader of Trinidad and Tobago, you want help with reading this? Oh, you want to put it back? Okay, I'll put it back for you, don't worry. Yeah, I not all that loyal country. It creates a link between both countries. And here's the thing, Abdul. Nothing is wrong with you not being loyal to Trinidad and Tobago. Nothing is wrong with you not being loyal to Trinidad and Tobago. To me, that shouldn't be something that is commanded of you. You don't have to be loyal to Trinidad and Tobago. That's not super necessary for you to be living here. But I would hope if you were to want to run the place. Oh, okay, understood. I mean, if you were to run the place, I would hope that your loyalty is here. Azad Mohammed said citizenship is loyalty. Where you get that definition? I didn't say that is what it is. I said that seems to be a signal of it. What do you see citizenship as? What's the meaning and the weight of citizenship to you? Because citizenship basically identifies you as a member of a particular country or group or whatever. Being a member of a particular group, being identified as such, is for the purpose of some level of loyalty, not so? Like, I don't understand why that's so shocking, Azad. If I have a cricket team, is that a cricket hat I see you wearing there? If I have a cricket team and you are a member of my cricket team and you are also a member of another cricket team, wouldn't I be justified in thinking you'd have some allegiance to both of those cricket teams you are a member of? Like, that's not a hard thing to understand. I think that should be true. I think to me that should be true all through the world. If you're a dual citizenship, if you're a dual citizen of anywhere, you shouldn't rule this place. That's my view. I play for 6 teams. And which one are you loyal to any of them? Are you loyal to any of them? And if they have to compete against each other, what goes on? Do you roll a dice and decide which one? Your family has a team? Your family has a team? Like, I mean, we could go down that rabbit hole, but I don't think much people would find that debatable. That the reality is, to some extent, citizenship, pleasant night, Bran, to some extent, citizenship is a signal of some level of loyalty. Some level of loyalty. That is what citizenship is, a signal of that. And I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. You could, and it makes sense from India's perspective. Guyana has been kind of asking for some of the same. Now, granted, Guyana doesn't have the same down to the roots pull that India has, but Guyana has been asking for their diaspora to return, because that will benefit them. If India can get all of their diaspora that excels globally to return affinity towards India, that is only to their benefit. And I understand it. If you are an Indian that is somewhere else in the world, I could understand the feeling of this is where my people are from, this is where I am from, this is where my roots are. And it's understood. And truth be told, it's not only India that does this. There are some African nations that do that very same thing too. There are some African nations that do that very same thing too. Some African nations offer citizenship, offer land and special deals to people who can prove their ancestry back to that area. And understandable. Now, for me, seeing as lots of mixing and matching went on, evidently, I am very okay with, creating my roots as a Trini, and I don't see it as necessary to return to a further root. This is my roots, but understandable if people want to do that, or if I link back to their motherland. Totally understandable. And I think, should people want to do that, if you feel like it's so strange to you because something that your motherland would offer is some homogeneity, and people do feel do build generally higher trust societies in homogeneous societies. Facts, Abdul. Facts. Facts. Yeah, but homogeneity generally builds a higher trust society. You're around people who think like you, look like you, behave like you, and I could understand. Some people may want to do that. Where do the Douglas go? Well, my Douglas stay right with me as Trinis. That's what my Douglas do. And I was wondering about that because with the offer being up till 6 generations in Trinidad and Tobago, I am certain there are some people who you would swear might be African that may be within 6 generations of an indentured laborer. This person looks like a full Afro. The word might be too derogatory. The person looks like a real. That is a real. And 6 generations ago, his great Nana came over on the Fatel. I wonder if you can genuinely trace, regardless of what you look like, economical purpose only, but we navel string buried here. I believe that, Azad. Listen. I believe, first of all, I don't think many Trinidadians are even going to just randomly go over to India because it's not cheap. Even if you have some kind of real pro-Indian affinity, it's not necessarily cheap to just fly over to India. That's not something that any and everybody could do. There's some distance there. So I don't think any and everybody doing that. But I see the economic benefit. The economic benefit that if you are a major business player and you have an opportunity to enter the Indian market. India is going up the road to 2 billion people. They look like they may be the first to break that 2 billion mark. And if you are a business owner and you get access to 2 billion people, that's a lot of scale for your market. That's a lot of scale for your market. And just so we know, Trinidad is the powerhouse of manufacturing in the Caribbean. Manufacturing is the perfect coupling for an immensely scalable market. Them fellas in Carib already over in India, But Nathan, unless you're going to upscale India, why would I leave Trinidad to go India? But that's kind of the point that we're making, though. I don't think many people are going to use that as an opportunity to pick up their family from Trinidad and go over to Gujarat and relocate their whole family and return to living. Go back to where many Uttar Pradesh. I don't think many people are going to do that. I don't think they're going. There are many cultural differences. You hear that. You hear the anecdotal talk of that so often. People go to Africa, people go to India, and they recognize as much of an African as you might feel. The Africans don't see you as an African, and the Indians likewise don't see you as an Indian. There are cultural differences, things that you've picked up and your lineage has picked up along the way that makes you pretty conspicuously a Trinidadian. And you like some of that, generally speaking. You don't feel comfortable outside of that, generally speaking. So I don't think, by and large, many people are just going to pick up themselves and go over to India to live. But there is a business opportunity. As I said, a scalable, an immensely scalable market. Carib already went over. And yes, India is the eye in BRICS, but also Mr. Modi is has a pretty good relationship with Donald Trump, and they are generally part of that seen as more right-wing sphere around the world. So, I mean, there's business to be done. Modi is in a unique position where he is in a high position with BRICS, but yet he remains good with the Europeans and good with the Americans. You know, India is in a pretty neutral position as it stands. Yes, Abdul, I know about his reputation. I know. But by and large, on the global scale, India is in a pretty neutral position. India playing a delicate game. Yes, they are. And they may win in the end. Many CEOs around the world are Indian. The next mayor of New York may very well be Indian. There are quite a few Indians in the runnings to even eventually be the president of the United States. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom was an Indian guy, was that last year. So, no. Mamdani is born in Uganda to parents of Indian heritage. His mother left India when she was 19 or something like that. And his mother, all through in interviews, always said that they made sure to raise him in his strong Desi identity. So the man is an Indian. All intents and purposes. So he is an Indian guy. So India is up there. As it says, I went there already. We can't live there in caps. You could say what? I wouldn't doubt. Yeah, the Democrat candidate for mayor. I wouldn't doubt. But maybe there might be very specific places where you could feel welcoming and it feels homish. But I know I don't think I will be cut out to live in Southeast Asia. I just don't think that's where I'm designed to live. The good Lord designed me as a Trini. Trump looking to deport that. And there are some interesting things in that, Abdul. They said he lied on his citizenship stuff. Can't be a beginner to live in India. Living in India takes some experience. It's not something for the faint of heart. But yeah, that citizenship thing, it isn't that strange. As I said, many countries in Africa offer the same thing. The truth be told, many in the African diaspora don't exactly jump at the opportunity. And when some people do take the opportunity, they regularly return from whence they came. A Ugandan Indian is very interesting. Yes, it is. But that's the reality. There are Indians in Africa, all about Africa. There are quite a few Indian enclaves, if you may. When we get direct flights, I'll visit Africa. Where in Africa? There are certain parts in Africa. I mean, I'm very interested about the news coming out of Traore and Burkina Faso is interesting in the news, but I have no interest in going to the place. To be honest, I'd be interested in taking up a dual citizenship in an African country. I don't know that to be true. I don't know which African country I'd want to do that in. And many of those African countries have a high level of corruption. I don't know if I want to tie myself to all of that. Yep. Not only in Uganda, there were problems in Zimbabwe, there were problems in South Africa, Kenya. It happens. Holding a Trinidadian passport, we have more benefits than an Indian passport. I haven't researched that to know, but I wouldn't be surprised, generally speaking. And just so, I don't know how many of you are tapped into the internet and the social media wave, but the super right wing of the West is actually fairly irritated by even Indian immigration too. So there might be some backlash coming even that way eventually. Who knows? I find it interesting though, and this is the nature of politics. Mr. Modi has asterisks by his name all the way along. And our government has no problem interacting and dealing with him. And it's nearly amazing to me. The PNM government brought an Indian billionaire here last year. And this same group of people in opposition chased the man out with insults and imputing horrible behavior on his character. You understand that some people really they don't like the country. They don't like the countries. There are some people out here, they don't like. Oh, he was a con man, but Modi is a good man. Do you want? Let's go a competition. Good vibe. You pull up all the scandals regarding Jindal, and I pull up all the scandals regarding Modi, and let's compare notes and see who has a longer list of scandals. You think you want to do that? And beside even longer, who has a scarier list? Modi more reliable. I would assure you not everyone thinks so.
Daddy?
Yes, babe.
The chocolate, please.
Ready to go, Dodo?
No.
Ha. Yeah, so, and here's the thing. I am not against dealing with Modi, because my view is that, especially on a country level, you have to deal with people as they come. So I am not against dealing with Maduro and the Venezuelans, even though I don't necessarily think they are good people. But they are the neighbors that we have. We can't make them change who they are. And we have to have dealings with our neighbors, so we deal with them as they present themselves. And I have no problem dealing with Modi at the same level.
Daddy.
But all of a sudden, people become pragmatic and understanding when they're in governance, but no care for that out of governance. And I despise that, because to me that reveals people who don't actually care about the country. Their motive has nearly nothing, someone who does something like that, their motives have nearly nothing to do with the betterment of the country. Tell the people good night.
Good night.
Laters, folks.
Later, folks.
Gotta go sleep.
Go sleep.
Alright, head in. Ugh. It's not about country. Our cricketers make millions in India already. True. Very true, very true. Well, yeah, and that was just very interesting to me watching that. And the level of adulation that was heaped on the man. Again, I understand. But weren't these the same people that basically were saying, unless the person is perfectly circumspect, we don't want them in the country doing business? Good vibe, you really have to stop blindly defending politicians. It's an unwise position to find ourselves in. It's an unwise position. You know personally that Mr. Jindal was a con man? Did he con you personally? Abdul, you know the answer to that. It's like political amnesia takes place regularly here. Facts, Trini and Passant. Facts. Padarat says, apparently he's a prime minister. Eh? Apparently Padarat seems like our prime minister. Either he feels he is, or he really is. Padarat, new CPEP board coming next week, with hundreds of citizens anxiously awaiting news on potential re-employment at the community-based Environmental Protection and Enhancement Program. CPEP, the Public Utilities Minister, says the new board of the company will be announced next week. Asked when the board will be confirmed, Padarat said by next week. But however, contractor sends CPEP legal letter. Ross Warren says we are still waiting on the yam Rowley bring from Ghana too. But Ross Warren, what that has to do with what I'm saying? Good Vibe says Calder Hart was a con man. Sir, I would like you to get your real profile and show your face and utter that statement and go to court and prove it. I was listening to the Indian news. It sounds like they really love us there. I don't think they don't. When you look at generally our cricketers are by and large very well received over in the subcontinent. So I don't think there's love lost there. And for me, looking at Indian news, the linkage between the people of India and the people of Trinidad by and large seems to be way more over cricket than over the mutual ancestry. To me, reading Indian news by and large. And the waiting on the yams business. Did we pay for that as a country? As far as I understand, that whole thing is there was discussion about how we could trade with each other. And that was part of the proposal of what can be traded between us. I don't know if there was per se some agreement where Trinidad paid money for yams, a shipment of yams that we didn't get, which did happen in some cases. Not for yam though. But as far as I remember reading the news, I don't think there was payment for any yam that wasn't received. It was a discussion on how we can build a trading relationship, and I don't see that as a problem still. I don't see that as a problem. If we could get yams that will benefit us. Or gifted, well, yeah. If we could get yams that would benefit us, grand. Like, what's the negative in that? Really and truly. I don't even understand. The whole situation is damned if you do, damned if you don't, bro. Well, to some extent, that's the line of work politicians find themselves in. How much the yam seed cost? 10 mil. I don't know. Is that so? Someone just said they gifted us yam seeds. How did it cost 10 million now? I don't know. In a pre-action protocol letter dated July 3rd, addressed to the Chief Executive of CPEP and signed by Attorney St. Clair O'Neill, he called on CPEP to rescind his termination letter dated June 27th. O'Neill is led by Larry Lala and they are instructed by Kareem Marcel. The letter warned that failure to do so would result in the filing of an injunction at the High Court seeking to reverse the decision of the CPEP company to cancel and terminate the contracts of all the workers, on the basis that the decision was unlawful. And King James says it was planted in Tucker Valley to get new variety. So what is even the bacchanal there? Yam seeds gifted to us, planted in Tucker Valley. What's the issue? Well, maybe they discussed buying Russia. Listen. Does yam grow by seeds? Yes, yam does. Now, when you say yam seeds, you have to understand you're not talking about an apple that you crack open and get the seeds out of. Yam, when you're saying yam seeds, do you know Edo seeds? Yeah, you know what they would call the Edo seed? Yeah, it's basically just a tiny yam. Remember India buying Russian oil and selling it over? Yes, they are. Listen to. I don't think that India has our best interest at heart, you know. It's just like Guyana. These people are seeking what is best for their country. Modi is a nationalist. By and large, he's a nationalist. Some would even say a religious nationalist, which puts even a further conservative spin on it. A nationalist isn't interested in Trinidad becoming very strong. That's not where their interest would be. His interest would be in us as we benefit India. Now, if you are a keen negotiator, you may be able to negotiate something where both sides benefit. That's the beauty of trade. Trade is something where both sides could benefit. Nobody loses anything. We both gain. If you are not, and if you are starstruck, or if you are awestruck, or if you find yourself believing that you are loyal to this group because of affinity, and that's what you go in those negotiations with, I think you'd lose. They would happily negotiate in such a way that you lose. Why comes in call Putin and buy some oil for the refinery? Azad says India loves our location, maritime. Now, I wouldn't doubt that. I wouldn't doubt that. And Modi, dislike the man if you will not call the man a fool. I am sure he is probably thinking a few steps ahead in the relationship he wants to build. India is a manufacturing hub. They need maritime access. Why not? Ross Warren says, but somehow when our leaders negotiate, we always come out on the losing side. Well, you see, it's a difficult thing to expect. This is why, like, if I were an Indian living in India, I wouldn't really mind, especially if I were a Hindu Indian living in India, I wouldn't really mind a religious nationalist being my leader, because he seeks my own interest to a selfish level. You see, the problem with general democracy is most of the times our leaders are negotiating in something that they win regardless of how the negotiation happens. If I am negotiating the Dragon Gas deal and it falls through and the country loses millions of dollars, I still get paid, you know. It doesn't matter to me. They will still provide for everyone. That is Hindu nature. All right, good vibe. All right, good vibe. Like, listen, I am a Christian man, but there ain't no way I'm going to tell people that if some Christian nationalists violently take over a place, that they're going to treat everybody Christ-like. I'm not putting a head on my block like that. Christians been doing a lot, as did all religious groups, because it's a human nature issue. It's in the nature. All right. I am 100% certain that the 1,200 people buried in Gujarat, that the allegations are Mr. Modi was responsible for, I am pretty sure they wouldn't consider that nature to be magnanimous and peaceful. St. Vincent PM have the Russian link. Fact, he does. He does. And you know, I kinda like the St. Vincent PM in his own way. The man is obviously a clever guy. To be an obvious out and about leftist, but at the top of Caribbean politics in the US backyard during the entire Castro Chavez period. Something he knows. Because it's either he survived many attempts of trying to get him out of that place, or he figured how to balance negotiating on all sides. Because it is widely known that the US doesn't like leftist politicians in their backyard. At least that was a common practice throughout the last 40, 50 years. So he must know something about what he's doing. Got to give him that. Hey, I saw that they giving Black Stalin wife a chance. Glad to hear that. Let's see where that goes. Communities will preserve their culture, whether religious or race. That's true by and large. Because the man castrating St. Vincent, and he is big in the game, doing what he do for this long. The man have a billboard in Vinci caption world boss. But yeah, by and large, communities do preserve their culture. That's true. I'm not too sure what that's in response to, but yeah, that's true. I also saw in the news the firing of the central bank governor, and that the PNM basically did the same thing when they came into power in 2015, firing Jawala Rambaran, and now the UNC is basically doing the same thing also. With the firing PNM did, the guy sued and won a lot of money. Now the new firing that UNC did, the guy is suing again. And if we're looking at general precedent, it seems like very likely he's going to win that money. But as I've said so many times in these things, I've come to the recognition that the government doesn't care. Remember, this isn't Mr. Padarat's money. This isn't Tantikam's money. This is all of our money. So if I could fire you and get you out of the job, and okay, you sue me and win a few million, but you're still out of the job, then I get what I wanted nonetheless. Good Vibe says, if one is up to mischief, action will be taken against such people taking action this wrongs. This Good Vibe, like you didn't just hear what I said. It's not this wrongs. That's the action that people take regularly. PNM took the same action, alleging that Joala was up to mischief, as you may be alleging for this guy here. But we see that the way the courts decided it is pay the people their money. And very likely they may do the same thing for this one. We're going to pay for the government to get rid of the central bank governor and get the person that they want. That's basically how it goes. Like, to me, you know what? Forget about the whole court case and rigmarole. Just go in there, offer the guy 10 million and tell him leave tomorrow. 10 million, leave tomorrow. And save us all the complications. But I guess that way you wouldn't get your lawyer friends paid. I've said this before. I was saying this since the start of this year. I get the feeling like nearly everything in government is a URP program for lawyers. That's the way I feel after a while. When you read the news, reading the news day in, day out, you feel like nearly everything government does is just a URP program for lawyers. And then when you consider that most governments are made up of lawyers and many of the laws are written by lawyers, the whole rule-based system that we used in the country is often crafted by lawyers, then it's no surprise that nearly everything seems to direct money into their pockets. Ain't that a thing? So Nathan, apparently the oil company is not extracting our reserves because of the state's percentage. Really? Look, we're paying 20 million for men accused for murder. Facts. Facts. And, you know, in the long run, the professionals around those men would really be the ones making the most of that money. The lawyers, the bailiff, the money lenders. I don't even think many of those guys are going to see a whole lot of money by the end. That money is going to be torn and ripped out of their hands going up the ladder. But we gotta pay, don't we? If you look at enough news, you'd see that nearly every day somebody is fired, wrongfully fired. They win the case, the government pays them, and they still get them out of the job. Yeah, it's larger than Guyana's deepwater drilling is expensive. That was according to Deep Dive AI. I don't know. I regularly say I don't believe all that is said on the whole oil and gas arena and science. My general area was environmental science, so we learned a lot about the whole non-renewable resources and all of that. And I could see, looking and reading and trying to keep up to date with the science, so-called, for the last 30 years or so. Many of the things they said 30 years ago about oil and gas are obviously and apparently untrue. I'm not saying what is true. I'm just saying that as reality has unfolded, many of the predictions and suggestions and facts that were outlaid seem like they weren't all that factual. I think there's a lot of hubris, and people assume they know more than they know, and also people lie because there's money involved. Anyway, that's all I have for now, folks. Thank you for tuning in. This has been the Mindful Live, brought to you by Mindful Education. We're looking to start up our Java classes, July-August vacation classes, specifically in CSEC, English and Math. If there are more students in some other subjects, we may be looking to do some of that. But quite a few crash courses being run in that English and Math. If you're interested, be sure to hit me up, hit us up wherever you see me, wherever you see Mindful Education. I'll see you guys again Monday for the next Mindful Life. Be mindful, not mindless.